Hey Steph, my name is Christian Ostmo, and this audit is going to walk you through just some weaknesses and strengths your website may have in terms of design and optimization. I know that there's not a whole lot in terms of design because it's just a WordPress.com, pretty standard one, right? Just for a bit of background, I'm a web designer. I have been for about a decade. I currently call London home, but I grew up in the tech world of Silicon Valley, the west coast of the U.S. I specialize in something called conversion rate optimization, which means that I build websites that sell better, get more subscribers, gather more leads, convert better, generally, excuse me. I'm not going to comment on how good or bad I think the design of your website is. Those terms are kind of subjective. But I will use my data-driven knowledge and experience to tell you kind of what sells and what doesn't, or what gets subscribers and what doesn't. And so, yeah, so without further ado, this one is going to be pretty quick. It's pretty straightforward because it is just a WordPress.com standard website. The first thing that I need to do is go into the difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org. There are two different types of WordPress, and you're using this one right here, WordPress.com. WordPress.com and WordPress.org, they're pretty similar in that the backend and everything is the same, but WordPress.com is a lot more limited. You have to use WordPress's servers, and you can't install kind of your own apps, or sorry, plugins, excuse me, is what they're called. They're going to have something, the themes are a lot more limited. How you can actually customize your website, everything is more limited. So it's beneficial in that it's easier to start up with WordPress.com. And it's free, I believe. I think that everything is free until you want to put on your own domain. So everything that you've gotten up to here, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong about that, but yeah, anyway. So WordPress.org is also, the software itself is also free. This right here probably looks familiar. It looks like the WordPress backend. Excuse me. But the difference is that you host this WordPress on your own servers, which always cost money. The benefit of that is a lot more flexibility, a lot more power behind your website, than having like a WordPress.com site. With the only downside being really that it costs money; it's not free. Yeah, so I mean that's basically it. Hopefully, I explained the difference between WordPress.com and WordPress.org. I'll kind of touch on different elements throughout the rest of this video. But just be aware of that as I go through this. I usually work only with WordPress.org sites. I don't really work with WordPress.com sites. And so, like, suggestions that I make may not quite work for you if you don't switch over to WordPress.org. So yeah, let's continue, I suppose, from there. Your website is obviously really basic. There's really no getting around that. When I build a website, like a blog, for example, if you go into, let's see, this is one site that I'm working on right now. This is not a blog, but it's something. This is the basic format that I try to emulate here. And actually, I'm going to log out here so it looks more like what you would see if you were just a regular user. Oops. So basically, people, when they get to a website, this is statistically true. They read from left to right, like this, and they read from top to bottom, and they end up right here. And so the objective here is to get them to press this button. Now, every single website I build, I try to ask, okay, what exactly do I want the customer to do? Now, for this one, it happens to be I want them to sign up for software that I am creating. And so what will happen is about 90% of the people will press this button. And I know that, I mean, based on statistics that I've collected, but I know that that's going to happen because of the way I designed it. You designed it in this kind of V shape. Naturally, people's eyes funnel in this direction. And like I said, about 90% of the people press that button, which goes down here. It's exactly what I want them to do. They click this button again, and it goes onto the sign-up form. So yeah, I mean that's the basic principle of this entire design. you're obviously just showcasing your blog articles. I know that you just started, so this is nothing critical. I'm just saying, like, moving forward from what you already have. What you have is great, and props to you for starting. But moving forward from what you already have, this kind of style is a really good one to emulate. Identify exactly what you want your reader to do. Do you want them to subscribe? Do you want them to read more? Do you want them to, what exactly? And then put something, take a screenshot of this right here. Put something like a picture right here. Some compelling copy right here. Tell them who you are, and then right here, tell them why they should care. Say, I'm the best blogger. I know you're in Melbourne right now. I'm the best blogger in Melbourne. I don't know. I don't think you're from Melbourne, but I mean, that's the idea. And then you should say, and this is how it's going to benefit you. And then get them to click this button about, like, reading more, because that gets them a bit more engaged. Even if you're not actually offering them anything or asking them to do anything, that's going to get them more engaged, and then that can go down into your blog articles, something like that. Another option, if you want them to subscribe right away, which is a possibility, right? You can have, let's see. You can have the same kind of format here, like we already showed. You have your compelling copy, you say who I am, and then you say why I should care. And then you have like an email thing here. But you don't just say subscribe to get all the latest updates. You say something like, put in your email address so we can give you, the guide to the best food in Australia or the best food in wherever you've traveled to. Something along those lines. Give away something for free in exchange for an email address. That's another option. And what you'll see here is, this is another version of the same site, basically. At the moment, that's how it's working out. And so what you end up with is something that looks like this. Again, you've got this copy right here. Why they should care right here. And then their call to action. What do you need done? And the idea there is that I'm trying to get them to search for, like work that they might need done or something like that. And yeah, I mean, that's basically it in terms of design. This is the kind of a formula that all of my websites emulate, because it really is the best. I mean, statistically speaking, that doesn't mean that it's going to work for everybody. If you want to, I saw this website right here is kind of it's really similar, but at the same time, it's not exactly the same. So if you were to, you can make it look however you want, but this is the basic formula right here. You've got, this is actually where I got that from my other one. Show your best, learn from the best, and then right here. And then this is the action they want you to take. Now, I would suggest to them that it should be right here, but it's totally fine to be over here. That's better than not having it at all. Okay, so yep, that's the basic formula. Hopefully that makes sense. If you have any questions about that, let me know. Let's move on. And then we've got your blog here. What I normally do at this time is come up with this is called search engine optimization. And this is basically how Google perceives your website. And it's obviously important for Google to perceive your website as having a lot of value, because that is what's going to that's what's going to get you traffic. And then at the same time, when people get to your site, how Google sees it, that's also going to determine your bounce rate, how many people are actually reading through. Excuse me. Okay, this is good. Do you have a title tag? I mean, that's pretty obvious. This is pretty important, meta description tag. I don't know if WordPress.com allows you to add this or not, and so I can't tell you for sure how to do it. I know WordPress.org does, so that's something you might want to figure out. This is basically just telling Google what your site is about, and it is pretty important. So if you can fix that, Google meta tag description, WordPress.com, something like that, you should be able to find it. Keyword consistency. This is basically every website needs to have kind of a theme, if you will, a theme of like what you're trying to accomplish here and what it's about, and Google needs to know that. So how they do that is they say, okay, I know you're probably not always going to continue in Melbourne, but let's just say you are the Melbourne travel blog. and that's the keyword that you or key phrase that you want to rank for. You're going to need to scatter that out throughout. You want it here, you want it here, you want it here, you want it here. So that way Google actually knows exactly that that's what it's about, is Melbourne travel blog. If you want it to be more vague, that's cool too. But just scatter it throughout the content of your website. Kind of along the same lines as that, you have the amount of content. Your website doesn't have a lot of content. That's totally fine. Obviously, you're just starting out, and so I don't need to worry about that. But you should fill out content on your homepage. Your image alt attributes. An alt attribute is just a all it is like a text that goes along with your image, and WordPress does have an inbuilt function to add this, so I definitely suggest doing it. Basically, image alt attributes, they show when you are when the image fails to show up, which is possible because you're using WordPress.com servers, which are really weak. Basically, let me say this really quick before I go any further. WordPress.com servers are really weak, so the reason that I use WordPress.org is because I pay for more powerful servers. Your website is fast enough when there's nobody on it, but as soon as you get any kind of traffic, it's basically going to die. WordPress.com does not dedicate very much in the way of resources to this, and so as soon as if you want to get started on the right foot, I suggest switching to WordPress.com, and I'll show you what host. I host all my clients' websites, so if that's something you're interested in, let me know. But if not, it's totally cool too. This host right here will host your WordPress.org site. It is quite expensive at $29 per month. I get my hosting is basically the same thing for £17 because I live in London. And so that's basically that. That's basically what you're going to pay for really good hosting. And you maybe don't need it until you have like some visitors, but it's definitely something to think about for the near future. Okay, let me continue with this. You're going to kind of alt attributes, backlinks. You're brand new. I don't expect you to have any backlinks, but be working on that. Don't fall for like the kind of scammy backlinks in the future, but do think about like trying to get featured on other blogs, like on online magazines and that sort of thing, because that's going to contribute a lot to how people are able to find you on Google and on just from those other blogs. Broken links. I looked at that earlier, but I couldn't actually find the broken link, so I'm not sure. If there's a broken link on your website, that is a problem. That means basically that you have a link on your homepage that's leading to nowhere, which Google will see that and they'll think, oh, this is an untrustworthy site. So if you do know where that is, it's good to fix it. I didn't see it though. Actually, show details. Skip to content. Let's see. Hold on. Let me see that. Skip to content. I'm not sure where that. It might be somewhere hidden, like underneath the code or something. I'm not sure exactly where that is. But anyway, if you know where that is, it would definitely be a good idea to fix this. Okay, you've got robots and XML sitemaps. This probably comes with WordPress, so I wouldn't worry too much about it. Analytics, it searches for Google Analytics. You might not have Google Analytics, but I think WordPress has kind of its own system, WordPress.com. If you do switch over to WordPress.org, I suggest getting in Google Analytics, and Google will see that a bit more favorable. This is really bad. So this is something to consider for sure. Basically, this is what it looks like on mobile devices. You really need to be careful about this kind of stuff where images are mismatched to the sizes. Again, I keep saying the word Google. Google is going to see stuff like that, and they're going to think of it as not a trustworthy site. It's the same thing over here. Just try to make sure that these images are flush. That's the best thing that you can do. This is probably your theme's fault. It's not yours. But if you can make those images the same size, that will be a lot better just to user experience and to Google as well. Okay, let's move on. Everything looks good right here, but that's probably because you're not getting any traffic. So, WordPress.com is notoriously bad, their servers, especially if you get any kind of traffic. Page size looks all right. You want to make sure that everything's optimized, though. It looks like you're, I don't know, maybe WordPress.com does that automatically. Optimized images. So basically, you have to be careful of this. Minification is, it's kind of like optimizing images. Let's see, let me take a screenshot here. I'm talking about this right here, minification. It's kind of like optimizing images, but for text. And so we're optimizing like JavaScript and CSS code, which means that we're basically just removing all of the spaces to make the files smaller. And that's something that your theme usually does automatically. It could be that you have a lower quality theme, or it could just be that WordPress.com doesn't do it. I'm not 100% sure in terms of WordPress.com sites, but this is definitely something you want to take care of. It'll speed up your site. It'll make the user experience better. It's not the number one priority, but it's definitely something you want to take care of. Inline styles is kind of like along the same lines. It's just an inefficiency in your coding, and that's probably a WordPress problem, or WordPress.com problem, or your themes problem. Not something that you can really take care of yourself. Social media, I didn't see any social media there either. So that's, oops, I just dropped something. Let me just make sure I didn't miss anything. Yeah, so that's just about it. Hopefully you're not too insulted. That was not meant, nothing about that is personal. It's a real accomplishment to have a blog at all. And so props to you for that. Props to you for starting it, and I really hope that you continue it, in that respect. Let me just go back to your website. Excuse me. I really hope that you continue creating content, because that's the most important thing, and I also hope that you're having loads of fun in Melbourne, if that's where you are right now. It's really, I've never been there, but I've been to that part of the world, and it's cool. Let's see. Yeah, anyway, so all this information is totally free. If you, for some reason, if you want to take it to the next level, I don't think there's any need for you to do it right now, but maybe sometime in the near future. This is what I do for a living, so get into contact with me. That would be the best thing that you can do. If you want to switch over to WordPress.org, because that is going to be the best thing for scalability and for future growth, you can also get into contact with me. We can talk about it. But yeah, no, I hope that this video by itself really helps you, because I know that's what I aim to do. Anyway, have a good one.